Hey everyone, this amazing ESO Network show is brought to you by our fine sponsor, Amazon.com. Please remember to shop Amazon for all your geeky needs, no matter what time of the year it is. All you need to do is go to esopodcast.com/ESO Amazon, or click on the Amazon banner on the ESO Network webpage to go to our e-store. It's the best way to shop and the best way to support this program, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, that's enough of me babbling for now. Now on with your regular scheduled show.
You gotta ask yourself one question, punk.
What the hell is a cigar nerd?
Welcome to the Cigar Nerds Podcast.
It's the only show where two guys smoke cigars and talk about nerd culture.
Do you like movies, games, comics, sci-fi, pulp culture, and beer?
Do you like science, nerd news, explosions for no apparent reason?
Then this is the show for you.
It's like being in a nerdy cigar shop, but for your ears.
Check us out at cigarnerdpodcast.com.
Hello, and welcome again to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. I am your host, The Monster, back to give you some sci-fi news for this week. So, we have some news. Some news I'm not really happy about. But before I do that, just to kind of give you a quick update, by the time you listen to this, I am still behind on watching Logan, and Kong Skull Island should be released at the time of this podcast being released, but that will be coming very soon, as well as my first Versus podcast, King Kong versus King Kong versus King Kong. So I'm comparing the 1933 movie versus the 1976 movie versus the 2005. So everything is going to be coming out very soon, so just please be patient. I've had a very busy week, and as at the time I'm recording this, in a couple hours I'm going to be going to work, in which I'm going to do a video podcast with a young adult author named E.B. Zaboy, who wrote a book called American Street. So if you don't know, I am a librarian here in Miami, and this is really something that I've been eager to do, and finally the library is actually doing this, that I get to do what I like, is doing podcasts. So it's been busy. I had to read her book, and I wrote some information on her, so I'm really excited. I'm also very nervous, and I'm also jacked up on iced coffee right now just to wake up, because I had to record my King Kong just moments ago segment for the podcast, for the Versus, and I'm doing a sci-fi news segment now, so it's going to be a busy day of podcasting, which I'm like, really, I'm doing all this, and I'm reading, so I'm really happy that this is all happening. So, alright, so let's get into the thing that I'm going to be really disappointed with. I'm going to probably pull it out now, is that I'm going to be probably cursing out my brains. Normally, when Mr. Gene is on the podcast, I'm okay to let that fly. But when I do the sci-fi news or do other podcasts, I try to keep it very tame, But in this case, I'm really, and I'm going to say this right now, if you're listening at work, not safe for work. If you have small children, stop the podcast. So there, you've been warned. Alright, so why the fuck is there another Indiana Jones movie coming out? God damn it. You gotta be fucking kidding me. As if Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was not bad enough. People say, you know what? I know they want more Indiana Jones. Yeah, I fucking want more Indiana Jones. I don't want more fucking Kingdom of the Crystal Skull shit. Granted, I love Harrison Ford. I fucking love Indiana Jones. I watched it last weekend while I was making breakfast. I rewatched these movies again. Why? Because I fucking love Indiana Jones. But it has to stop after 3. Seriously. It was very painful to watch Harrison Ford. Why? Because it was god-awful. It's like James Bond, Sean Connery, who we all love. He leaves. And then he comes back. To do what? Never say never again. What the fuck is this shit? It's crap. Look. Getting the old gang back together sounds like a great idea. We'll bring back Steven Spielberg. We'll bring back Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall, the original team, and Harrison Ford, who started the whole damn Indiana Jones series to begin with. I don't see any George Lucas there, which that might be a good thing, because I think it was his idea and why the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came to be. But still, stop it! Seriously, stop this shit. I mean, there is going to be they already have a date, July 19th, 2019. I don't understand this. It comes to be a point with the physical demands that this role requires. Harrison Ford is not up to that task. Again, I'm saying this with all love in my heart. I love the guy. But you have to play it differently. And they did for the most part in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. They gave a lot of the action stuff to Shia LaBeouf. And look what he is right now. So, don't bring him back. So what are you going to do? Bring Short Round? Maybe. I don't know. I would rather have the series ended on a note, meaning I want more. Leave the audience wanting more. And unfortunately, this is what we get. We get that crappy movie. And now, another one. And I know I should not be judging a movie before it's even designed, thought of, whatever the case is. But there's a history of crappy ass ideas. And this is one of them. It really breaks my heart because this is the way it's going to have to go down. And the only thing that's going to make sense, Indiana Jones is going to have to die in this movie to make it worth my time. Just like Harrison Ford in the Han Solo role in The Force Awakens had to die. So is this what we're going to see? Another character that's going to die? We're going to get a Blade Runner sequel, which, granted, doesn't really demand it, but we're getting it anyway. So what's going to happen in that movie? Is he going to fucking die too? So everything that I had in the 80s, is that all going to fucking die as well? All the heroes now dead? Well, they're going to die anyway, but that's besides the point. But, you know, these icons live on forever on DVDs and streaming and books and all that, so the character can live on forever. But seriously, is this what is going to have to happen? He's going to be dead, and then there's no more? Look, let's do the smart thing. Let's not do this. Put in someone to be the new Indiana Jones. And I hate saying the idea of it. I detest it. But look at James Bond. Sean Connery started that franchise. And if you grew up watching him, that was your James Bond. I grew up with Roger Moore. He was my James Bond. And on and on and on. There's nothing wrong with another actor taking up the mantle. Just like Doctor Who has a new doctor, a new actor. Every time he regenerates, it adds something new. It keeps the franchise alive and vibrant and fresh. This is not the way to go. I'm sorry. I'm not saying this because I'm going to be 50 in about 5 months. I'm just saying this as someone who grew up watching these movies, who would watch these movies over and over again in the theaters, listening to the music, reading the books, and then when it came out on videotape, renting out the damn videotapes, and then buying it on Laserdisc, and then buying it on DVD, and then re-buying it on Blu-ray. You already have my money. You already have an audience. But you are pissing it all away. You're watering down the essence of what this series has meant to me and meant to a whole host of people around the world. But come on. I don't want to see another Indiana Jones 5 movie. It's an insult. And if they have to kill off Indiana Jones to get my ass into that seat, I don't see any other way for me to get to watch this movie. I'm sorry. It's I don't want to be the fan that's angry at a series and just forget about all those wonderful memories that I had with it. Hell, I would go to Disney Hollywood Studios, like when it first opened, and even that Indiana Jones experience wasn't completely done, so it didn't have the wall and cave, whatever. So basically, you had the stuntman coming down from like the catwalk, and there was no background, but he had to pretend that he was in a cave and such. I was all in. And every show, and Mr. Gene can attest to this, every show would end, and may all your days be Indiana Jones Day. I love that moment. And then somehow they stopped. Even though there's the cave and now they got the plane and all that fun stuff, and I finally brought my kids, they stopped saying that. It stopped being the Indiana Jones experience. So when Gene and I went with my son, I was hoping they would say, and may all your days be Indiana Jones days. Because they were closing up shop, because they're expanding the whole complex for Star Wars stuff. But it wasn't the same. And that's exactly how I feel about Indiana Jones 4 and now fucking Indiana Jones 5. It's not the same. So, alright. I'll try not to curse any further. But god damn it. It's one thing to remake shit that I grew up watching. It's another thing to just beat a horse to death and think, you know what? This time it'll be different. No, it fucking won't. Alright. Let's go on to Thor.
Cross the rainbow bridge of Asgard, where the booming heavens roar. You'll behold in breathless wonder the god of thunder, mighty Thor.
One of the things that I noticed aside from the Entertainment Weekly cover, and I'll go into the cover in a moment, don't you worry. I looked up on IMDb, and one of the things that I looked under his heading for that movie, Thor Ragnarok, was the billing. First Thor movie, Chris Hemsworth, top of the list. Thor Dark World, Chris Hemsworth is top of the list. Guess what's happening on the third one? Well, he's not on the list as number 1. He's not on the list as number 2 or number 3, number 4. He's 5th down on the list. So who is taking top billing? Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. Then Loki by Tom Hiddleston. And then we get Idris Elba as Heimdall, Kate Blanchett as Hela, and then there's Chris Hemsworth. Wait, wasn't this called Thor Ragnarok? So why isn't Thor getting the top billing here? And I'm going to use Mr. Gene's point here about the solo movies. This is a solo movie for Thor. Thor needs to have his own universe. But yet he's being kind of crowded out by other characters. We have Hulk. And there. Again, mentioned Doctor Strange. So, the stuff that made the first one great, he had a supporting cast, but Thor was still the main focus. And to some point, you had him again in the second movie. Thor was the focus, but he worked with Loki. Okay. But now it's getting to be a little bit more fuller. And I bring this up because if you look at Captain America Civil War, whose fucking name? Sorry, I wasn't going to curse, but there it is. Whose name comes first? Robert Downey Jr., not Chris Evans. On a Captain America movie, it's not Chris Evans, it's Robert Downey Jr. And I'm not knocking Robert, but it's not Iron Man Civil War, it's Captain America. So when I see Thor Ragnarok, this is Doctor Strange's movie. It's Heimdall's movie. Is it Loki's movie? No. No one says that Ragnarok. It says Thor. I don't get it. Alright. If anyone out there has an explanation, I would love to hear this. But if it's because they're popular right now, I think that's a lot of crap. You don't rank actors as due to popularity like that on a movie that has nothing to do with those actors. If the movie's about a lead character and the actor associated, that's the top billing, regardless. Alright. Oh, I need a breather. Let's take a look at that cover, shall we? Okay, so we have Thor with his super shingle, you say, super short haircut. And the more I look at it, I'm just like, hey, that's really short. And it looks kind of wet. So he kind of has some product going on. So it's kind of like, that's just so last century look. Because I could just imagine touching his hair and it's just like, it's crispy. So I don't have hair anymore. So back in the day, I used to have product. So yeah, I know the wet look, but it wasn't really wet. It just looked like that. But it just looks weird. I've never seen Thor with short hair. And then we have Kate Blanchett, which I didn't even know that was her until I just read the cover. It's like, oh, she's hella hot, that is. because she's a brunette. And I'm sorry, there are certain women that when they're blonde look so devastatingly beautiful as a brunette. Fay Wray, going back to the King Kong thing, which I'll get to in a moment, going back to the moment, I saw pictures of her as a brunette, and I think she looks even more fantastic than as a blonde. And I'm not knocking women who are blonde. I'm just saying sometimes I think blonde is not all that. So, and then on the cover, we also have Valkyrie, which I'm kind of whelmed because the Valkyrie in my head is from the comics back in the last century, where Valkyrie basically had these kind of a very shapely costume and had white hair and long, not a ponytail, but long pigtails, and carried a long sword. So I'm not disparaging the fact that she's a black actress. I like her a lot, and I find her attractive too. But costume-wise, it's very blah. It's like, when you're gonna get the first X-Men movie, everyone's wearing black leather. Jesus. So if you go to the EW site, you'll be able to see not only the picture of the cover, but also some other pictures. The one that kind of threw me off was the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum. I'm sure in the context of the movie, it'll be fine, but I just think the color scheme and seeing him with eyeliner just kind of throws me off for a bit. But hey, it has to be better than Dark World, right? That's all I care about, and that's a very low bar to pass. So, considering everyone's going to be in this movie, you know what? Thor needs to have a win in its column. Since we haven't seen Thor for a while, I'm hoping, and I want Thor to succeed. Alright, so let's move on, because I'm already going way too long than I expected. Thanks, Indiana Jones. You were named after the dog. Let's go into the Saturn Awards.
I think it's going to be a long, long time till touchdown brings me around again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh, no. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man.
If you don't know what the Saturn Awards are, you probably are not a sci-fi nerd. Well, basically, think about this as another award show, but for sci-fi and fantasy genre. So you have actors, actresses, best movie, TV, you name it. This is just for us geeks to get over us supporting the snubs that we would get in the Oscars. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things as far as what the nominations are, because the official ceremony will be later on. I'll get that in a moment. So, for example, Saturn Award, Best Comic to Motion Picture Release. Well, there's Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Captain America, Civil War, Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Suicide Squad, and X-Men Apocalypse. So, right off the bat, I can say X-Men Apocalypse, no. I could also say Suicide Squad also gets a no. Doctor Strange, good, but not great. And yes, I would have to say Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, that does not get an award here. So basically, it comes down to two. It comes down to Deadpool and Captain America Civil War. In the context of, if this is going to be, the best picture in this category for us geeks, as much as I like Deadpool, I'm going to have to give it to Captain America Civil War. That's just my pick. And everything that I'm talking about is just my ideas or what I would go for in that category. So it's quite a bit, but I'll get to it in a moment. Best science fiction film release. They have Arrival, Independence Day, Midnight Special, Passengers, Rogue One, and Star Trek Beyond. So I picked Arrival for that. Best fantasy film. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is what I put down. Ghostbusters, don't even think about that. Don't. The best horror movies, I have no ideas whatsoever. I know Don't Breathe, but I really couldn't even guesstimate as to what I would pick. Now, the best action adventure films has a movie called Allied, Gold, Hacksaw Ridge, Hidden Figures, Legend of Tarzan, Magnificent Seven, and The Nice Guys. Really? Hidden Figures? This is like the Martian situation with the Golden Globes as best comedy. That does not belong there. Best thriller. 10 Cloverfield Lane, The Accountant, Girl on the Train. Is this sci-fi stuff? I don't think Girl on the Train was. Or The Accountant. Jason Bourne, Hell or High Water, The Shallows, and Split. My choice, 10 Cloverfield Lane. Best actor in a film. This goes back to a process of elimination. We have Chris Evans for Captain America, Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, Chris Pratt, Passengers, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, Mark Rylance for the BFG, Chris Pine for Star Trek Beyond, and Matthew McConaughey for Gold. It's going to have to go to Chris Evans for that. Best Actress in a Film, Amy Adams for Arrival, and Emily Blunt, Girl on the Train. We have Tara G.P. Henson for Hidden Figures, Jennifer Lawrence for Passengers, Felicity Jones, Rogue One, and also Mary Winstead for 10 Cloverfield Lane. I had picked Mary Winstead, but Amy Adams would be the close second. And Best Supporting Actor in a Film, again, I'm going to condense this. I picked John Goodman for 10 Cloverfield Lane. Best Supporting Actress in a Film, I went with Margot Robbie for Suicide Squad. Best Performance by a Young Actor, I picked Tom Holland in Captain America, who you know was Spider-Man. Best Film Direction, I went with Gareth Edwards for Rogue One. Best Film Editing, John Gilroy, John Goody, Jabez Olsen for Rogue One. And there's a couple that I skipped. Best Film Music, Michael Giacchino, Doctor Strange, and Rogue One, I did not want whatsoever. La La Land, I heard a little bit of that. Passengers, I've not heard. And John Williams, I will pass. So I'm figuring James Newton Howard, who I like a lot of his work, who also did the King Kong movie, the 2005 version. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was my choice. And going to Best Film Makeup. Since this was an oversight in the Oscars, I'm going to have Star Trek Beyond be my pick over what had happened with the Suicide Squad. Best Film Special Effects and Visual Effects, of course, going to Rogue One in that aspect. And let's see. Animated movie, I am going to have to go with Zootopia. Best Science Fiction Television, I'm going to pick Westworld. Best Fantasy Television Series, Game of Thrones. Best Horror Television Series, going back to The Walking Dead. Best Action Thriller Television Series, I picked Mr. Robot. Best Superhero Adaptation TV Series, I'm picking The Flash. Best Presentation on Television, Mars. That's the Discovery Channel series, that pseudo-documentary on Mars. And Best New Media Television Series, Stranger Things. Best Actor on Television, Grant Gustin for The Flash. Best Actress, Melissa Benoist for Supergirl. For the supporting actor, I'm just going to actually take a pass because a lot of it's kind of close, and I really don't have a clear favorite on this. Supporting actress, I did pick Melissa McBride from The Walking Dead and Tandy Newton as my 1-2 and vice versa. So they're like tied for that position. Best Young Actor, I picked Millie Brown for Stranger Things. Best Guest Performance, hands down, Jeffrey Dean Morgan for The Walking Dead, without a doubt. And Best Animated Series, I picked Star Wars Rebels. Best DVD, I guess Blu-ray release, I picked The Lobster. Although it kind of gets weird because there's also a special edition release, which I picked Batman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. And what else? Skip. Okay. And the other one is like Best Live Stage Production. I'm like, that doesn't really make sense because that's something that we would not have access to, or at least be able to see that. So that's kind of a weird category that the Saturn Awards picked, but whatever the case. So yeah. All right, so a nomination has been picked by me, but the official announcement of the winners won't be until June 28th. Normally, this would not be broadcast, and when it was, this is way back in the beginning, in the early days, back in the last century. That's why I played that Shatner opening piece of Rocket Man, of him doing his take on the Elton John song. He performed that on the Saturn Awards. So, take that with a grain of salt. It's come a long way since those moments. But nonetheless, let's see how that turns out, and I'll come back with the result to see how I did. Alright, so that's it for me for this week. And again, sorry if you're not expecting me to curse as much as I did by myself, but I really had a serious bone to pick with Indiana Jones 5. So, you can always email me. You can write to me and tell me, hey, you're wrong about Indiana Jones 5. Fine, let me know, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are. So, find me on the various social networks. I'm everywhere, folks, and you can also follow me on U Media Miami. My video podcast will be up hopefully later by next week for that interview with E.B. Zavoy. So again, I'm really eager for all this to pan out, and I'm hoping for a great turnout. So thank you very much for listening to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. Sci-Fi. Oh, before I do that, next week, the 17th of March, I'm going to do the first Iron Fist episode review. So this new series is coming out then. I will tack that on to the Sci-Fi News for that segment. So, alright, sorry. So, again, let me start. So thank you very much for listening to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. Sci-fi from a certain point of view. Good night.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network, your station for all things geek, classic, current, and beyond. Be part of the crew at ESONetwork.com.